Went over the illegal stuff with the husbands was the most economy out down to me. Oops. You know what was I asked you to be? First time I've done that.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay,
Made it.
tell me when you're ready, Eric.
Ready?
Okay. Welcome, everyone. My name is Helene Wartell. I'm at Temple Sinai in Delray Beach. And for those of you who are at home, also welcome you to this wonderful afternoon where we'll be talking with author Meryl Ain. And we're delighted to have her here to talk about her new book.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let me give you a little information about Meryl, and then we'll go into having a question and answer between the two of us. And when we're done, I'm sure Meryl will be only too happy to take your questions as well. Sorry.
Helene, a little closer to the point.
Okay, better, okay. So Meryl Ain is a writer, author, podcaster, and career educator. Her newest book, Remember to Eat and Other Stories, I love that title. It's very Jewish. Could be Italian too, but we're not going there. It was published in January. She's also the author of 2 award-winning novels, The Takeaway Men in 2020 and her 2023 novel, Shadows We Carry. Her articles and essays have appeared in numerous publications, and she's the author of 2 nonfiction books. The host of the podcast People of the Book, she's also the founder of the Facebook group Jews Love to Read. The group currently has more than 6,100 members, and Meryl holds a bachelor's from Queens College and a master's from Columbia University and a doctorate in education from Hofstra University. She and her husband Stuart, who is right here in the back, is a journalists, live on Long Island and spend the winters in Florida. They have 3 married sons and 6 grandchildren. Well, we're delighted that you winter in Florida.
Thank
And
you.
are spending today with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Our pleasure. So I read this book and I really enjoyed it. And one of the things that, before I get into the questions, one of the things that I enjoyed about it, I'm not as engaged with short stories, generally speaking. However, what I liked about this collection is that the characters are all interrelated in all of the stories. And so one of the questions that we'll talk about is why you chose this format as opposed to writing another novel. So why don't we start with, why did you decide to write Remember to Eat?
Well, I decided to write Remember to Eat, and it was always going to be a book of short stories. I had written the 2 novels. I did not want to write another. It's a very big deal. Not that it wasn't a big deal to put together this book, but you have to have an arc. And then right in the middle, the turning point is supposed to happen. And I also had a lot of experience previously writing essays. So I was familiar with the short form, and I liked writing essays. So I thought I would try my hand at short stories. So I started with 1, and then I ended up with 4. And then I ended up with a book, but I really, really enjoy this form.
Good. Where did the title come from?
Where did what?
The title of the book.
Oh, the title. The title. Okay. So the title that I had suggested was called Family Circle. Did any of you ever have a family circle when you were growing up?
Yeah.
And we went to family circle meetings, and they had a Hanukkah party and Passover Seder. and then they would meet, I don't know if it was every month or bi-monthly, and the big topic of conversation was always the cemetery.
It's new at the cemetery.
And I mean, it was like, I mean, I was a little girl, and it was like, okay. So I just thought, oh, family circle, you know, because there were a lot of Jewish families who had family circle. Apparently, the publisher didn't get that. Didn't get it at all. So they said, oh, how about Remember to Eat? Remember to Eat is the first story in the book. And basically, it's about a woman who is in labor, and her husband is a little too obsessed with what the Lamaze teacher told the class, which was he forgot all the other stuff about the breathing and everything, and it was like, husbands, remember to eat because you're not going to eat for a long time. So that was the genesis of that story, and then they liked that for a title.
So you chose to write a series of short stories. Having done that now, is that your preference for the future? Can we expect more short stories or novels?
I think, and I haven't really been writing because I've been very busy voting. But I think if I were to write more, I would still do the short stories. I love the short story. It was, you know, it's basically one idea. You could have one setting or maybe a couple of settings, but you don't need to have as many settings as you need in a novel. Fewer characters, quicker resolution. And I find it a little akin to writing essays. So I enjoy that very much. And I think that I would write more short stories. The novel, when I think about it now, I don't even know how I did it. I mean, it was so overwhelming. But of course, I did the first one during COVID. No, actually, both of them during COVID. But the first one was, and I wrote it before COVID, but it came out at the beginning of COVID. The second one I wrote during COVID. So I didn't have anything else to do.
Well, one might like to see another novel for you. We don't wish for another COVID, so.
No.
Okay. So your book is very Jewish.
Very Jewish.
Very Jewish.
Very Jewish.
How do you feel about launching a very Jewish book during this time of record anti-Semitism?
Yeah, that is a very good question. Okay, so I feel, you know, and I do touch on anti-Semitism, but I feel the book is not just mine. It's communal, and it's a statement of continuity and identity and resilience. But I have to be honest, I do monitor social media engagement, and I do watch out for harassment. And I shouldn't say it, I've had very little, but I have had some. And I think that's one of the reasons my other books I wanted to, you know, have everybody read them. I'm basically now just doing Jewish audiences and programs for Jewish groups. I mean, you just really don't know what's out there.
Okay. And does your book address anti-Semitism itself? And if so, how?
It does address anti-Semitism. The character Alice is born in the 1920s. She graduates from college 1943, 44. and she joined the army, which is unusual for a Jewish woman of the time, and she experiences pretty much low-level anti-Semitism her whole life. The daughter, Marjorie, is a baby boomer, and Marjorie doesn't really experience a lot of anti-Semitism because they live in an area with a lot of Jews. But she does, she goes to Europe at one point as a student, and she marries. She does not marry them. Her mother had been happy. She meets some um, third world boys, students that they become friendly with, and they are actually anti-Semitic. And they didn't realize that she was Jewish. And she meets one of them in a pub, and she comes along with a friend of hers who's obviously Jewish. She wasn't obviously Jewish, and the friend mentions she's Jewish, and Marjorie says she's Jewish too. And he says, "You don't look like a Jew. You don't act like a Jew." And that was really her first experience of anti-Semitism.
The characters in both your novel and your short stories, they feel very familiar, like neighbors and relatives and people you meet at shul. Is that your intent?
I don't know if it was my intent. It was, they say write what you know. So I wrote what I knew, and that's what, family felt to me, what neighbors felt like to me. And, I'm glad that you're saying that. Thank you.
You're welcome. How did you create the characters of Alice and Marjorie, and how would you describe their relationship?
Okay, so Alice is a member of the Greatest Generation. And I have to say that I did model Alice after my mother. My mother graduated from NYU, and that week she enlisted in the WAC, which was an insane thing for a Jewish young woman to do at that time. I mean, until she died, she was like, I don't know how my mother let me do that. Because her father was like, no, don't do it. But her mother said, oh, do it. I don't want to stop you from doing what you want to, because this is true. So based on my grandmother, my grandmother, who was one of 12 children, she was the fifth. She wanted to be a nurse, and her mother, and she was accepted to, I think it was Beth Israel Nursing School, which was really unusual at that time for a Jewish girl. And her mother wouldn't let her go. So she wanted her daughter to do whatever she wanted to do. But it was really an insane thing. There was anti-Semitism in the army, and that was pretty much.
What was her motivation for wanting to join the army at that time?
Well, she had just seen a movie called Hitler's Children, and she was very horrified by it. And then also, I suppose, all the men were in the army. So the combination of an idealistic reason and another reason.
Very sensible. And what do you hope that readers will take away from this book, this collection of stories?
That I think that Jewish life is very rich, that it's, been that way always. But there are, many ways of being Jewish that families, Tolstoy said in Anna Karenina, what was it? Happy families are all alike. Unhappy families are each
Unhappy in their own way.
okay. So, it's the story of a family and a story of the arc of Judaism, kind of from 1938 to the present. And we do have the COVID pandemic in there, and just lots of other things. So, there are different ways to be Jewish. We have a woman who's not particularly observant, and two of her three children are intermarried, and then the third one marries a young woman who, I mean, she wasn't brought up this way, but she became enamored of I didn't say Lubavitch, but that's what the Hasidim, and they are living a very, very different kind of a life, and the mother is like a little bit scornful of them until, I won't give it away, but the daughter-in-law does something incredibly wonderful for her mother.
So you've already indicated that some of this is autobiographical. How much?
Well, I don't want to say it's autobiographical. I would say that some of the things I was triggered by growing up, I chose to write about. So for instance, when I was in third grade, one of my fellow students, her father died, and then another one, her mother and father died. I made up a whole story about that. So I don't know that you would call that autobiographical, but I do think that they write what you know, and everyone starts with what they know, but I wouldn't say it's autobiographical.
So when you think about the theme of these short stories, because they are connecting, what would you say the overriding themes this book are?
Okay, it's a good question. I should have thought about that. The theme is it's about a Jewish family from 1938 to the present, and particularly focusing on the women. And so it's about how the women cope with their families, with changes in the status of women, and all the different things that happen through the lens of a Jewish family.
So apparently you now have created your own Facebook community, Jews Love to Read. Well, we are people of the book, so I think that's appropriate. What has it meant to you and its members as it has grown?
Well, it happened during the pandemic. It's like everything happened during the pandemic. In 2021, and I remember I was just, I don't know, saying to my husband Stuart, there wasn't really there were a lot of readers groups on Facebook. I think there is another Jewish, there are probably more than one Jewish Facebook group, but it wasn't really the vibe that I wanted. And I was complaining to him, and he said, well, start your own group. So, honestly, what did we have to do during the pandemic? So I started, I said, okay, so one of my friends, a fellow author, told me about Canva. Does anybody know about Canva? Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing because I'm not really artistic, and you can just create graphics, and it's just wonderful. So I made a what do you call it? But
What's this?
not a picture. You
Mandela.
logo for the group, and then I just started emailing everyone I knew, basically, who was on Facebook, and saying, "You want to join this group?" And because it was a Sunday. I mean, nobody really was doing anything. Like, people started joining the group, and so I try to make it. I don't. A lot of these groups have many rules, and I don't like to do that. So I mean, it's no politics. It's strictly books, and so people can no sex or violence, stuff like that. But people can promote their own books, or they can share books that they like, that they think other people would enjoy. And then my podcast kind of grew out of that, where what's the name?
What's it called?
It's called Jews Love to Read, and Stuart over there, I said, "What should I call this group?" And he said, "Well, call it Jews Love to Read."
Thank you, Stuart.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit more about your podcast.
So the podcast, I interview other authors, and it's interesting. It's
How do you choose the authors that you're interviewing?
Well, it depends. Sometimes it's somebody that I know. Sometimes it's a book that I've read that I really enjoyed. Some publishers have started sending me books, so sometimes I read it and I like it, and I mean they were sending it to me for the purpose of interviewing the people. So I can't interview everybody, but I interview people, and it's great.
I have to tell you that I really did enjoy reading the book. I think if any of you want to purchase a book, Meryl has them available. She'll even autograph them for you. And where can the readers find you other than Jews Love to Read?
Okay, so my website is merylain.com. I have my personal profile on Facebook, and there's also a Jews Love to Read page. There's a People of the Book page. It's not that hard to find me.
Good. Meryl, we'd love to open this up for questions from
Sure,
our audience.
sure.
Do you have any questions out here? Okay, Linda.
I've written 14 books. The majority of them were for my grandchildren. I've written a book of poetry that goes from age 5 to about 55.
Wow.
I haven't gotten anything published. I've checked a couple of publishers. Most of them say you don't have enough pages.
Oh, really?
I've written short stories concerning members of my family. They tend to be like 80 pages long. But
One short story?
Yes, but they want them to be longer than that. Everyone tells me it has to be at least 100 pages
A book?
before they will consider it. So what do I do to get something published which isn't long enough?
Do you want to answer that, Renita?
Sometimes send those query letters, right, to publishers.
You sent query letter?
I haven't sent anything. I've made
Oh,
phone
you haven't
calls.
done anything yet,
I've
huh?
made phone calls. I haven't gotten them.
Now you have to
published.
send a query letter, and if you Google it, they'll give you the format
Yeah,
for sending it.
think also there are sites online where you could, where you have, put in how do I get my book published. Jewish Book Council, I know, does have a meeting every year or twice a year about how to get books published. You might want to go to their site, Jewish Book Council.
Right, thank you. Any other questions? Meryl? Oh, sorry.
I feel for you when you talk about your mother. Likewise, I have a mother who was born in 1920, had a mother, and she was wartime. Her parents were deceased, and it sounds like she had that same spicy attitude. She ended up going off to the Philippine Islands, where she ended up meeting and marrying my father, and they were married for 67 years. But the kind of personality of someone who would, yes, she's always said there was a little bit of patriotism, but a lot of that, oh, let's go have some excitement. And I like feeling that, what you're saying about your own mother.
Carol?
Yes, I'm sorry I came in, I had to come in late and miss the introduction and the first part of your presentation. How much of a role does the Holocaust play in your works that we're discussing here? First question. Second question, do any of your social media sites give book reviews to help us select reading? Okay, so the first question is like
The Holocaust. How much does the Holocaust
of the Holocaust. Okay,
relate to this?
so the Holocaust, that this is a they give you a very big answer to this. So I personally have been obsessed with the Holocaust since I was in the 5th or 6th grade and read the Diary of Anne Frank. And I became a history teacher, and I think I read everything having to do with the Holocaust, everything I could get my hands on. Clearly, I could do everything. I saw every film. It was all Holocaust all the time. For me, that was my obsession, which is particularly interesting because both my parents were born in the United States and they both served in the US Army during World War II. And my grandparents' parents, came to this country. So I could not find any real connection to the Holocaust, but I felt very strongly connected to it. My first book, The Takeaway Men, is about a couple who are survivors. The wife gives birth to twin girls in a DP camp, and then they come to the United States when the girls are 3.5 years old. But the specter of the Holocaust is constantly over the parents' lives. And then the second book, Shadows We Carry, is a sequel to that. So the girls are, young teenagers when it starts, but this is, especially the father, who, was Jewish. The mother was a righteous Gentile, who sort of became Jewish for not officially, but she behaved as a Jew her whole life, married the father. So it was just always the Holocaust, the Holocaust, the Holocaust. Anyway, this book, I have to say that I veered a little bit from the Holocaust. There's some mention of it, but I don't think much. There's one story where a German girl comes to stay with Alice's family, in the late 1930s. There's a little bit of mention of it, but I really didn't didn't want to do another Holocaust book, so. So this is more about Jewish identity. And the second question was,
Does your website or your Facebook page or whatever give book reviews to help us select books to read?
give book,
Book reviews, do you review books?
Recommend books?
do I recommend book? No. No. I sometimes, I'll mention, I'll put a post up on Facebook if I really loved a book, but I don't put them on the website. Okay.
What about in your podcast when you interview authors? Do we get the sense from you that these are books that you would recommend, and that's why you're interviewing the author?
Sometimes there are books that I love, and that's why I'm interviewing the author, and sometimes I get a book and I don't know what I'm gonna do, so I do it. So it's both.
How do you deal with interviewing an author whose book you are not particularly fond of?
Well, I don't know that. I don't think I really interview anybody whose book I actively dislike. I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't do that.
Any other questions? Yes. Go from Mike. Welcome to Zoom.
You mentioned Anne Frank. Have you read the follow-up book?
I haven't, but I have it, but I haven't read it yet.
Okay,
Why are you asking?
because I have, and not a lot of people know about it. The father lived.
Yeah.
Yes.
He survived the Holocaust. He's the one that's mostly responsible for the original publication of the diary.
There's a book about.
Him, yeah. There's a lot of controversy about how the diary was presented originally, so, but we're not here to talk about the Anne Frank diary at the moment. Any other questions? Jane?
Where does the name Ain come from?
Oh.
Where does the name
Yes,
Ain
Stewart.
come from?
That was always the name, it was never shortened. And your relatives come from Ukraine,
Both of his
Yeah, both of his,
supposedly.
yeah, so it was, and the one thing, it was never shortened, so if anybody comes with that name and it's shortened, it's not a relative. But anybody with that name is indeed a relative. So, there you go.
Okay. More? Linda?
I just looked it up and it's Hebrew. It means eye or fountain. In Hebrew, in Arabic, it also means spring. And it also has Old French Anglo-Saxon roots. I don't know whether anybody knows this, but when you research names that come from a place that was owned by Russia, they would give out names in order to be able to get people to pay taxes. And they would choose names. And if you had money and you were able to bribe whoever the tax collector was to give you a name, then you wound up with something interesting. Otherwise, you might wind up with who knows what. So this sounds, because it has a Hebrew background, like something that was actually purchased.
Also, in Yiddish, which goes back to the German. So there's so many possibilities on where the names come from and what they actually mean. So it's something worth researching on its own at some later date for you and Stuart. Any other questions? Well, thank you all for being here and for all your interesting questions. And Meryl, I thank you, we
Thank
all
you.
thank you
Thank you.
for giving us your time and for giving us your book, which
Thank
is now going to bring me to read your earlier books because they sound very
Thank you.
interesting. Thank you very much for being here,
Thank
and
you.
Meryl will be very happy to sign books for you, and she's already done that before, but before you leave today, books are at the table, and Meryl will be
Thank
there.
you. Thank you.
Thank you all. And come back for the Rabbi's series of lectures on the following Thursdays when Rabbi returns. You'll see the schedule in all of the temple information. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again,
Meryl.
Thank you.